Hi everyone, and thanks for returning to my channel where we talk about everything related to breakups, relationships, how to cope, and how to move forward in life. If you spent days alone in your room, days where your parents didn't communicate with you, years of this type of cycle of not being attentive to your emotional needs, not encouraging you to grow and to nurture and engage in activities that grow you as an individual, right? And these are, just any kinds of activities like focus on school, structure in your study time, focusing on your extracurricular activities, time spent talking about the future, talking about your interests, talking about what happened today at school, who did what to you, and here's what you need to do. Or time spent hearing your parents say, honey, it's okay, I know you messed up, but mom and dad love you, let's fix this, or you can come to us. These kinds of conversations that help the child soothe and feel grounded and feel understood and helped to work past uncomfortable feelings, acknowledging mistakes, working on the errors of your way, and just growing and learning and getting better as you age. If that process wasn't happening on the regular, then you were not being nurtured, and sadly there was emotional neglect. And for all of us, when we hear this, we think, well, DCF wasn't called on my parents. And so what does that have to do? What does this emotional neglect have to do with our romantic relationships as adults? What do those days of feeling lonely, of not having companionship from a parent or family member, of feeling excluded and rejected, what do all of those days have to do with these unhealthy relationships that we stay in as adults? It comes down to feeling like you are not enough and feeling like you need more affection and more love. And so as an adult, the more natural way to receive this affection is through relationships. And so when you look at your relationships, you can realize that they just don't give you what you need for one reason or another. Suddenly you'll find yourself in these unhealthy relationships, these unhealthy romantic relationships with people that don't give you what you need. And what you need is compassion and understanding and patience and nurturing, because you did not get that, and you don't know how to give it to yourself so that you can stay stable. And so the moment any little thing is happening in your relationship, you destabilize. The moment that you feel that this person might reject you, you destabilize. The moment that this person is disrespectful, lying to you, not fully committing to the relationship, and you see this, you start to blame yourself and you start to search for reasons. And then there goes the overcompensating. There goes the illusion that if you keep doing more, it's gonna get better. That if you keep changing, they'll change. That if you keep fixing yourself, in air quotes, they will fix themselves. But that's just not a reality. That's not gonna happen. The only way that there is true change is when we do the work, is when we change our perspective. And in order to change our perspective, and in order to adapt healthier thoughts and beliefs about ourselves and the world, we need to come to a place of stability and emotional peace. And guess what? While you're in this toxic relationship, you will not receive that. You will not get there. you will not be able to integrate and fully learn and heal from all of the neglect that you've experienced in your life. I encourage you to really think about the neglect that you're experiencing now in your current relationship, and sit there and ask yourself, did I feel this in childhood? Where does this feeling seem familiar? When did this feeling start to occur? That's a real good exercise to do. When you start to feel sadness, ask yourself, where is this sadness coming from? Could this possibly be sadness from childhood, from all of the days that I just experienced this feeling of loneliness? And it's just so hard to be with myself. You might have such a hard time just being on your own and alone, because it just triggers this feeling of loneliness that you've had to endure as a child for so many years. And listen, you might have had good parents in the sense that they provided for you and they were affectionate to you here and then, but that's not enough. That's not enough. The key to good parenting is consistency, providing a consistent, stable environment to your child that's nurturing so that they can regulate themselves and move through the very difficult and challenging experiences that they have as a child. And so if that's not what you received, you might very well be looking for that in your relationships now. And they'll never meet that expectation. They never will. That is something that you need to meet from within. And only when you can meet that from within will you be able to start to detach from these unhealthy, toxic relationships. Why? Well, because now you've set the bar higher. While you were growing up, while you were being neglected, while you experienced domestic violence for some of you, while you experienced constant arguing, unstable marriages, while all of that was happening, your threshold for unhealthy behavior went up. In other words, what you're willing to tolerate as unhealthy is much higher than someone else who grew up in a very stable, supportive environment. And you know what? Some people might say, well, no, but what family is perfect? What family, didn't experience arguing and fights? Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. You have families that experience arguments, fighting, but guess what? They come back to a place, the couple will come back to a place of understanding and nurturing, and we'll talk about it, and the child will perceive that things in the home are safe again. And the child will be informed on some level that things are okay. Sadly, that's not the reality with most families. Most families experience destabilization. Things are chaotic, and then everything's swept under the rug, and then everybody's forced to act like everything's okay, and everybody just moves on. Doesn't talk about it, doesn't reflect on what happened, doesn't explain to the child why things ended up this way and how they can get better and what mommy and daddy are going to do to fix the situation. So you're left with a child completely unstable, wondering and anxious about what's coming next. When is the next fight? When is the next shoe going to drop? Okay, this is the instability that I'm talking about. And you might find yourself in a relationship that reflects your parents' relationship. You might find yourself having trouble being in a healthy relationship because you didn't witness a healthy relationship. And you might find yourself finding a partner who is safe and nurturing because you did not see that. Now, add to that a very high threshold for unhealthy ways of relating, a very high threshold for verbal abuse, for emotional neglect, for gaslighting, for all of these things that really, really destabilize somebody in a relationship. So, thinking about how you were neglected emotionally as a child, understanding that this is happening again in your current relationship is a big clue that this is not a healthy relationship for you. Understanding that finding that stability, regulating your emotions, healing from the emotional neglect, healing from all of the traumatic situations that you experienced in childhood, even if you're not fully healed, but definitely taking the steps and going to therapy and starting to work on these things and developing a safe, supportive relationship with your therapist is definitely a step in the right direction to help you move past the toxic, unstable relationship that you might find yourself in now. So, I hope this gave you a little bit of insight. I hope that this gives you some support and some guidance as to what to do next. As always, thank you for coming back to the channel. If you think this is helpful and if you have a friend or two that might be going through the same situation, please hit the like button and please share, because we need to get this information out to as many people as possible that really need the help, guys. So I appreciate you. Have an awesome day.